Hello and welcome to another episode of The Writing Finger. I'm your host, Subramani, and we are joined today by my friend, a fellow book reader and author, Ashwin Karthik, who has turned his only functioning finger in the body into a writing implement. Ashwin, welcome to this episode, and I'm sure you're kind of buoyed by the kind of responses that we're getting for this show.
Oh, definitely. Tell me about it, Subramani. You know, after uploading the first episode of the Writing Finger podcast yesterday, a lot of people pinged me and congratulated both of us uh,
Wonderful.
very heartfully, and I convey those congratulatory messages to you on their behalf also. I
Excellent.
am extremely buoyed and excited to take this journey forward with you.
All right. So, without further ado, let us get into what we are getting to discuss today, which is how words have stirred us into writing, how words have touched us or impacted us so much that we picked up that uh, imaginative or the elusive pen. Not exactly that way, but still, I would say that any writing task would involve a pen or maybe a keyboard. And I think in our case, it's more the keyboard. So we're going to discuss the favorite books that got us into where we are today. Venturing into writing, memoirs or novels, as we respectively do, and also, introducing some books to our readers today, I guess. So what do you have in mind, Ashwin? Go ahead and share your thoughts.
Well, that's a fantastic topic to talk about. Books that mm, turn us into writers and what we are today. But before we dive into that interesting and deep ocean of thoughts,
Yeah,
let me ask you a question that's troubling me for some time now,
right,
and that is, there's a saying that a picture speaks 1,000 words, and here we stand, trying to inspire people to read and write. So
right.
compared to an art form like painting, where do you think writing stands? As in, not comparison exactly, but at least two art forms. How do you describe writing against uh, painting?
Painting or a picture.
Yeah.
Now, I get your question, and I think you're asking this question basically because I'm a journalist, and we use this saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words very often because not just the writers but also the photographers who get into the act of getting the best evocative picture. As even as we talk today, there are thousands of pictures that are flooding the internet. Okay, coming to your question. Okay, the picture can tell 1,000 words, no problem. You look at Mona Lisa, and you can see the vibrancy of a woman, and that elusive smile that kind of seem to make us all curious. And also, there are a lot of pictures that you can see uh, that kind of tell a story. But the point here is that it's worth 1,000 words, all right. But is the picture telling you the full story? No, I would say not at all. Um, because I recall meeting Mr. Harry Miller, someone who who hailed from Swansea in Wales, and who kind of moved to India, and he was a Second World War photographer who went to Japan and other places in the Pacific Theater, and he took some pictures. And he was telling me uh, the background in which he took the pictures, and he also showed a couple of articles he wrote about those pictures. So, a picture may be worth 1,000 words, but they don't. A picture doesn't exactly tell the they don't exactly put you in the context. You see, there's a context, there's a backstory to each picture that you see, and that backstory comes out in the form of writing. So writing has its relevance even in the day of a video or a picture. Um, Talking about it, when we talk about a picture, the one picture that's kind of gone on uh, across the world is the picture of the Ramana Maharshi. I'm sure, Ashwin, you also have one with you.
Of course, yes.
So that picture, actually, there's no place for that picture anywhere in the world. And how did that picture reach, in so many places, especially to Europe and in the United States, is because in 1920s there was a journalist called Paul Brunton who was traveling through India in search of this elusive figure called Yogi, a realized being, a self-realized being. And then in this book called A Search in Secret India, he recalls meeting a lot of people with the yogic power. And then he happened to reach Tiruvannamalai, where Ramana Maharshi resided. This is the abode of Arunachaleswara, the deity, and there, Ramana Maharshi had his ashram. So you can read that extraordinary exchange that kind of goes on between Brunton and Ramana Maharshi. Not so much in words, but what is getting exchanged in the form of spirits or in the form of thoughts. And so that description has kind of gone viral, I would say, viral as viral as it can get in those days, and went to different parts of the world, and that's how people discovered Ramana Maharshi. So two answers in one question. So it's not just a picture, it's a context, I said. And here's an example of how the context of discovering Ramana Maharshi has taken him to different parts of the world, the story behind the picture. And also, this book, A Search in Secret India, definitely contributed me to understand how to write your spiritual experiences. So I'll go to you, Ashwin. What is your favorite book? And take it over from here.
Well, that's a very well put out answer to my question, Subramani, because, you know, India, as I understand, is a country of emotions, right? A
Mm,
lot happens on how people feel in this land. As I said, the pictures can bring a lot of emotions to one's mind, but how do you convey them? Because every emotion can be interpreted in many ways, and to gauge or to understand one's emotions correctly, words are the best medium to to convey and to make people understand how one feels. That is so beautifully explained by you. Thank you for that. Now coming to my favorite books, there are many to talk about, but I would want to first take our listeners into a bit of my past and how I got connected to stories and storytelling in the first place.
mm,
So in my younger days, when uh, my parents took me for physiotherapy for my physical condition, it was indeed very extremely painful, and to just keep me smiling or motivated to endure that pain, my father would narrate to me stories from the epics like Mahabharata.
Mm,
And that is how he introduced me to the characters of the great epic. Characters like Karna, Arjuna, Krishna, you know, the Vidura and everybody there. And this particular character, Karna, he inspired me a lot because as I understood the story, he had this great tolerance to pain, uh, and he could win battles that he fought, even in the greatest of pains of injuries, and I would somehow picture myself as Karna, and I would tell myself that, Ashwin, you are the China of this age, and you
mm,
can endure all that
mm.
pain and fight any battle and win over enemies like Karna did.
I mean,
That
the other point is like the enemy that you're fighting is not outside; it's within you, isn't it?
within me. Yes, yes, exactly. So the such stories and many more, like the character of Sindbad the sailor, where he fought the mighty ocean waves and sailed through many a land. So these stories actually inspired me. I would tell myself that someday Ashwin, you also need to tell such stories. I would motivate myself on a dream that I had for a long time to become a storyteller myself. So that's
Wow.
how my journey of storytelling began. But coming to your question more precisely, the first readings that I did were of the very famous storybooks of that time written by Enid Blyton, books like the famous five, the Secret Seven. Um,
I kind of imagine that you must have been a fan of Nancy Drew.
of course,
You
yes,
were? Okay.
yes. So
Yeah.
detective stories, thriller, suspense. These were the emotions that attracted me towards reading such stories. Yeah. So that is an initial bit of my journey into reading and how aspired to become a storyteller someday in future. I am so happy that I was able to realize that dream of mine.
Yeah, exactly. See, especially when it comes to expressing ourselves, as Stephen King often says, it goes into the favorite books that we have in our bookshelves that we fall back to in terms of how we express ourselves. Of course, people sometimes say that, I need to evolve my own style. Of course, that's very true. You have to evolve your own style. You have to write in a way in which that is unique to you, but that doesn't happen out of thin air. You see, it happens out of imitation. It often happens out of experimentation. You try different styles and then something kind of works for you and you stick with it. um, the second book that I want to talk about today is it's kind of I wouldn't say very recent, but more very recently written. Is a book called Apprentice to a Himalayan Master. This book is written by another, self-realized human being, Mr. Sri M. And he lives in Trivandrum. He used to live in Trivandrum, from where he had a connection connectivity to a yogi from the Himalayas, and then he goes to the Himalayas and then spends 3 years there, and returns as a very self-realized human being. And why this story actually touched me is also partially why I want to go back to a book that we discussed last week, which is autobiography of a yogi.
Of
In
a
in
yogi,
this
yes.
book, yeah, in this book you can find how you know Yogananda's guru's guru, who is Lahiri Mahasai,
Very
who found
Masai.
his connections to Babaji, and how he spent the time in his in the caves, and learning the Kriya Yoga and so on. So that at that time seemed to me a little bit of an exaggeration, because how could this happen? You go to a very remote place in the country, and then you experience something which is so magical that all your previous birth sort of comes into your consciousness. That's what happened to Lahiri Mahasai. When I read Sri M's book, I realized that this is kind of a recurring, theme in the life experiences of saintly people. Ramana Maharshi had a different experience, but it was more or less the same. You kind of get into a kind of a trance, or a kind of an out of the body experience, and then you come back to realize something that wasn't obvious to you before. And this book kind of inspired me because it's a metaphor for writing, I guess. Writing is not something that people can afford to take it lightly. There are a lot of people who think that writing happens in a sort of a whim. It's not that way. You really have to kind of prepare yourself. That spiritual preparation. The preparation is more or less what you mentioned. Listening to stories, reading books, and then you evolve your own storytelling methods.
Great. I mean, both the books that you mentioned, you know, The Apprentice of a Yogi, and as we spoke last week, the autobiography of a yogi are excellent reads. The
Yes.
second book that I would want to talk about again, I mean, I am a man who gets very excited with fiction, and as I mentioned, the suspense and thrill. Then, keeping honest to myself, I would again go to one of my favorite reads, that is Da Vinci Code. It is a bestseller
Wow.
of the decade, written by Dan Brown, and the things that made me fall in love with that novel or book are very simple to say, but Dan Brown as an author has taken great pains to accomplish what uh, he has in that novel. The kind of meticulous detail that he has mentioned in the story. Um, I'm sure he would have spent months or years together in Paris and all of Europe. Wherever he travels through the journey of the character Robert Langdon, who is the protagonist of the book. Where there were instances where he states things that many people did not like, and the way he carries the story, not letting the reader off the hook from
Absolutely.
the plot,
Yes.
I mean, it is extremely commendable. So
All the books that we mentioned here, you're most welcome to read all of them. Um, the most important reason why you should do is we're not talking about philosophical books. They're storytelling in its own way. All of them are wonderful stories. These are not philosophical tenets, but wonderful stories that will engage you. They are page turners in their own rights. So please go ahead and tell us about what you think about our recommendations in the comment section, and also stay tuned to us. So thank you very much for joining us today. This is Subramani.
Till next time, Ashwin signing off. Thank you. Bye bye. See you soon.